Om Namo Narayanaya. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om friend, welcome to Yuva Chaitanya. We are going to the sadhana for single pointedness and concentration, that is Japa Yoga. Not isolated Japa Yoga as such, but that one which will be integrated with along with the entire inner equipment and help us transcend to get the knowledge. Most important, now Nama can lead to knowledge ultimately. So our present topic is pitfalls in Japa Yoga. Now, pitfall, falling in a pit. It's not just listing of pitfalls, but in case you are falling in a given pit, how to rise from that and come out of it is also suggested by Swamiji, and therefore it is more meaningful, not just listing out the pitfalls. So giving us the practical tips for coming out of these falls. So always the fall is followed by the rise. Bhartrihari, in one of his Subhashitas, he says, a cultured man is not the one who never falls. It's not that he never falls, but every time he falls, he bumps up to rise above and come back to the original status from where he fell. Whereas the uncultured man, when he falls like a rock and remain there. That's the only difference between a cultured and an uncultured man. So a cultured man will always try to rise up again. And Bhartrihari gives the example of a rubber ball. So a cultured man will fall like a rubber ball, which will bump up again. Whereas the uncultured man will fall like a stone, which will lie down there only. So there is a difference. So here we are also given tips for rising up from that fall. That's most important. So you must have gone through the portions up to the end, and we have covered almost 10 paras out of 14. So almost major portion of this topic is covered. Only 3-4 paras are balanced. So can you list one by one the pitfalls under remedy? This is the positive aspect not of yours, but of Swamiji's presentation, that the Swamiji not only mentions the pitfall, but also he suggests the practical remedy to come out of it. So we'll have to list down right from the start. And the first pitfall that you can see in the first para itself, that japa is not a physical one. If you are doing it physically, then it's a fall. It should be mental. That should come out of it. So in the beginning, you may start with the physical japa, chanting aloud, etc., or turning the beat, but later on it should be mental. So this is the first thing, which is a general fall. It's not a big fall. To start with, it is possible. We started with physical and continue as physical. So Swamiji wants that it is basically a mental exercise meant for the mind, not for the body. If body has a soothing effect because of the mantra has got vibes or vibrations, that will definitely be soothing for the physical body. But that's not the purpose for which Japa Yoga is undertaken. That's a byproduct. The main point is that it is meant for the mind. Therefore, Japa should be mental. That's rising up. Then you can see that mental Japa with closed eyes, when we do it, then there is a tendency for the wandering of the mind. Because mind at rest, closed eyes, then there is a tendency to wander. And then therefore, Swamiji suggests that in the beginning, keep your eyes open, look at your deity that you have chosen, and thus with keeping the eyes open, you can have the japa, physical, mental, according to your capacity. So this is a second pitfall, that when mental japa, now you are physically discouraged, so you have started doing mental japa but with closed eyes. When we say our closed eyes, then you are tend to wander into these areas, different areas. So therefore, keep the eyes open and then see the Lord, observe the Lord, as we have said, from top to bottom, bottom to top, and recall it in the mind. So some activity for the eyes and the mind. So that is the second part of it. Third, usually our mind is shallow or narrow, and therefore it cannot immediately able to concentrate on our japa yoga. The third para is suggesting mental japa with sincere effort to bring forth. The third para is most important, a positive tip for coming out of this. Instead of with a shallow mind, or or we can call it as a isolated mind, let the mind connect itself to various aspects of the inner equipment, that is mind and intellect. So then we can, if we have to go with some sequence, then we can say that it starts with sensitivity of the mind, faith, love, sympathy, then will, logic, reason, discrimination, etc. So mind with an effort to look in for all this best that we have with us is to be poured into the act of Japa Yoga. It's an action. So we need to improve it or enrich it with these faculties of mind. So mind we have taken as a general term, which has got emotional and rational aspects, called as mind and intellect. That also the third para is the most important para, which gives us a deeper concern for the mind to be handled. So the mind becomes deep mind, not shallow mind. And the other isolated, instead of feeling mind as isolated mind, let mind connect itself with various talents it has got within, and all those were that is listed by Swamiji. That was the third one, with third para. Then the fourth para immediately indicates that if the person is unwary, not what you call it as diligent. No, sorry, not diligent. The term is vigilant. If the mind is not vigilant, then what will happen? He will be going into the jungle of thoughts, and since every thought costs some delta energy to be spent, therefore going into the jungle of thoughts means waiting ourselves drained of all energy. Then at the end of the Japa Yoga sadhana, on that day particularly, every time, if we are following like this, then you'll get frustrated. And the frustration is another pitfall. And then otherwise, the stupor or sleep. These are the two defects. The frustration may lead to a loose temper, and the other one is the stupor or sleep. And this is only coupled in the fourth para, but it is detailed out in say eighth para for sleep, and I think ninth or 10th of the eighth para we have come. So the seventh pitfall of bad temper is in the ninth para. Then on the eighth para, the sleep, that is stupor, that is covered. The sixth pitfall. Seventh pitfall is bad temper. And therefore, what is important is the hold the mind in balance at a given line of thought is a great strain, and therefore to the beginner, therefore the mind gets fatigued. So frustration, fatigue, bad temper, sleep, all are covered here up to ninth paragraph. And finally, it all ends in the exhaustion, loss of energy. So then Swamiji says, never mind. It is only in the beginner for every time, in every activity, a beginner always will have to spend more energy because he is not yet used to it. To get used to it is very interesting. So the various examples of a driver, a swimmer, and a lady with her own children, a lot of children, with her relatives and her children, taking care of them, she finds a time later to chat with the neighbor. So this is economizing the energy. As you become experienced, as you are very comfortable with practice, then you start economizing. But in the first instance, as a novice, you have to spend more energy. You are not sure whether of your performance. So the example of a driver at the wheel and the swimmer or the lady housewife, all these are the examples of where the first attempt they exhaust a lot of energy, and later on, then when it becomes they used to it, then there is an economizing the energy. So I think with that, up to that we have come. So we have listed so far 8 pitfalls. And now we are moving to the 10th is over. In the 10th, we have said exhaustion is for the first time only, anew, and economizing the energy is the way out. So up to here we have covered last time. Now, is there anything to be discussed on this? How many? I think 8 pitfalls. Anything further to be discussed?
Guruji, one thing is that our mind also has the ability to do 2 or 3 things in parallel. So sometimes what I notice is that the japa is going on in the background, and in the front the mind is thinking about something else. It's not that the japa has stopped necessarily, but if the focus is not there, no, the japa also goes on and some other thought also goes on along with it, but then it doesn't become effective, is what
What is the pitfall here? What
there is
should be
no
the
one
pitfall?
pointed there is no one pointed mind. No, instead of mind processing thoughts in series, it is doing that in parallel. That is even worse, actually, I feel.
But now what is the way out? First of all, we must be able to point out the reason for that, and then there will be a remedy.
So if the japa is not 100% deliberate, no, then that habit formation has this problem that something goes on in the background, and it
So what is
becomes
opposite to deliberate?
uh, no, opposite to mechanical
What?
is deliberate.
Yes.
Uh,
So when the japa is mechanical, definitely mind doesn't have to do it many times, and even the driver also many times. Driver now driving is an operations only, and once the mind is accustomed with that operation, while driving also he can speak, discuss. So he's not supposed to, but they want themselves to stop getting dozed off, to prevent themselves dozing off. They want themselves to be busy with talking with somebody, so that they become awake while driving, usually at nights, etc. So the mechanical, when it becomes mechanical, then mind doesn't have control. It's a habit only, and by habit they are going on. So when some odd situation comes in the driving, then that mechanical working doesn't work. It doesn't have any solution to that. There the head has to be used. Discrimination has to be used. So therefore, this is a fault is mechanical, and reason I mean the way out is that we should do it deliberately, consciously. Consciously and deliberately is the way out for that. So parallel working, that's the most dangerous thing there. And Swamiji has spent one more para why we are numbers are not going together, where the fifth para, the fourth para Swamiji takes up seriously, and the fifth para he criticizes it all over the world. In the name of Japa, they are only wandering in different things. Strangely enough, we shall find that whatever they have practiced, their psychological beauty is directly proportional to the amount of japa. Perversion. So this kind of warning is to be seriously considered. So Swamiji gives one more para in support of the fourth pitfall, where that unwary practitioner, his mind gets enchanted and goes into the jungles of unproductive thoughts. So these unproductive thoughts, but we are spending energy for them. So spending energy for every thought and going into the jungle of wandering thoughts, then it's only lead to exhaustion. And then this is fifth para is in support of this and a great warning on that. Therefore, we are going parallel along with the para. Each para talks about one pitfall up to fourth para. Then fifth para is in support to reinforce the importance of coming out of this pitfall in the fourth. Fifth para is also given. Otherwise, we'll have perverts instead of single pointed and concentrated mind of people. So that was about fifth. The sixth has only over enthusiasm, not to just start with over enthusiasm, more energy, therefore he does more number of malas. So not to do that, start with a mala a day. So that is a practical tip. So Arambashur, what we call it, in the beginning they are damn enthusiastic and they are prepared to do anything, whatever they think. Later on they cool down and then they start giving it up. So instead of that, start with a mala a day, and then according to your capacity, according to the time available, you can increase the number of malas. So that was the fifth pitfall discussed in sixth para. And sixth and seventh together are covered in seventh para. Sleep with a cause for that, a remedy for that. The sleep and bad temper both are covered in the seventh para. So eighth para is analyzing the problem of sleep and giving the suggestion or practical tip. Compared with a child which is not able to know anything that it perceives, it doesn't know anything. Therefore, its attention is not there in the details of the outer world. And for a little gust of wind passing over its face, the eyes keep, closing down, and it goes into the sleep. It doesn't know the real what is used here. So, one, the thrill of the journey is not enjoyed by the child because it doesn't know anything of the outer world. It has got eyes open, all right, but doesn't understand it. So for that child, it's okay. There's no thrill. But you and I, we are having our attention outside through windows of the vehicle, and we are trying to enjoy the greenery around or various scenes that we come across. So enjoying travel when our attention is there. Similarly, here also Japa, it should be done with attention. So what we used the term earlier as deliberate as against mechanical, here another term is with interest and attention when we undertake, then we will be saved from this pitfall. That was so 8, 9 are covered. Then the 8th pitfall is in 10th para, and that is exhaustion. When it is the first attempt, there is an exhaustion. More energy is spent than required. Later on, as we get accustomed to it, then we can economize our energy, and we can see that we are available to do many things in a less by spending less amount of energy. And the example of the driver, the swimmer, and all that is already given. So thus we have covered the revisional portion. Now we are on the 11th para. Shall we proceed? Anyone else would like to say something? 10 paras we have already covered.
The thing right now which was discussed, that parallel thinking, so it is rightly said that mainly because of the mechanical part of it, and when it becomes mechanical, there is interest level is reduced, because it becomes like mind knows what is to be expected, and mind always requires something new. So we have discussed this point before once, that solution can be, if we are chanting the name, then if mind is going away, that parallel thinking, then that thinking also should be regarding the that Lord. So stories of the Lord and all. So that let the mind think, but only that we have seen that the cow is tied to the pole. So that parallel thinking also we can try to be within that range.
Right. That point you have recalled is correct. but is not directly applicable here. Now, what we have used the word attention, we have used the word interest. Point is, wherever there is an interest, there is an attention. If the mind is finding it interesting, mind will find enough attention to pay that. So this is more important. When you say that mind is not interested or interested, so here it is a question of paying attention or no attention. So that is how we can link that with our present point. So in order to pay attention to what we are doing at present, it is necessary that you must learn to like that. Because it is always good to do the things that we like. But the present system of education doesn't provide that. Present system of education only provides the what you can say as a crisis of characters. So the fellow who should have composed the poems and all that, he is handling big ledgers and cash books in the bank. Or the one who would like to enact in the drama, he is working in the bank. So you cannot expect interestingly attentive in his job. It is always good if you are able to do the job that you like it, but it is not possible. So Vivekananda suggests whatever job you have to do it, learn to like it. That's the only way out. So that once you will find if you really decide to like it, you will like it. We have in the worldly parlance, there are very many events where we like it in the beginning because we are positive about it. For instance, a bride is fixed. Okay, so all that alliance, a bride is fixed. Thereafter, you start describing about the bride so positively, praising all, let's see how she is good, how her family is good, etc., etc., etc. And later on, when she comes to stay with you, later on you start finding faults with her. This kind of thing is, if you decide, you can learn to like it. And if you decide, you can learn to dislike it as well. Here, the question is, wherever there is interest, there is attention. Note this. And here, what is required is attention. The mind's attention is not there because it is not interested. Mind should develop an interest. So learn to like it. And when we know to start with, we can always know that how it will benefit us, how it will help us develop single pointedness, then concentration, and then the meditation, then the contemplative effort, and what are the gains of all these. So once we can now and then just encourage the mind by recalling these benefits that are promised by our teachers and scripture, so that it will pick up the interest slowly. To the extent it has become interested, to that extent the attention will be available of the mind. Once the interest is gone, the attention cannot be expected. So this kind of association between interest and attention is very important.
And that one more point is that Manasa Puja is also important, it is said. And we have seen those verses also. So can we connect, means can we chant and do that?
This is for deeper concentration. So instead of physically seeing the idol, physically performing activities of bathing the deity, cleaning it, and then offering flowers, etc., etc. This is physical worship. Instead of that, the same thing, if we learn to imagine by the mind, Rutkalpitam Grihyatam, Rutkalpitam, it's imagined by the mind. I have imagined that I have the best of the holy waters all over the India, from the holy rivers have been brought to you with a cool water for your bathing purpose. Likewise, we are trying to imagine something where it is not available in concrete way. We are trying to develop the imagination, and to that extent our concentration increases. In fact, I have observed that in some of the Montessori classes, the children are asked to do Manasa Puja. They are just they have the slate or something in front of it and close the eyes and say, now you are offering the prasad and now you are offering agarbatti. Likewise, they have found that the children's concentration power improves. So this experiment has been tried in some of the these early classes like Montessori, etc. So for concentration, the imagining part of the mind is very, very helpful because you are imagining something which is not there in front. If you are sitting in a puja room where there are deities, etc., then there is no Manasa Puja. If nothing is there in front, then the Manas Puja will be effective. Then you are trying to see, or whatever you have seen daily in the puja room, that you have to recall by mind and visualize by mind, and then continue the same puja. So you can chant the same mantra or perform the same sandhya by mantras, but actual action will be done only mentally, not physically. So that is the additional exercise for concentration. As such, the single pointedness is first tried out in the Japa Yoga, which will lead to concentration. Concentration is not immediately discussed, but this is single pointedness of the mind. So the mind which is to be applied for some nobler purpose has to be itself single pointed, not going to anywhere else or other line of thinking exclusively. So this single pointedness is first thought of, so that the instrument is equipped now, and then that single pointed mind is to be applied to a given exercise with concentration. So the concentration is regarding the contents of what we are working with, whereas the mind by itself has to be single pointed. If it can simultaneously think something else also, it is not a virtue, it is a vice. So here it is to pay a single pointed attention to our chanting is the way out, and the Manasa Puja will help increase the concentration, not single pointedness. Single pointedness is required for the equipment. The mind needs to be single pointed. So this is that Manasa Puja is a higher exercise. If one is able to perform Manasa Puja, bringing before your mental vision entire physical activities of the puja in your mental vision, and then chant the mantras as usual, but the associate activities are only to be imagined by mind, not actually performed. So little movements of hands here and there is allowed, but basically you are not performing in detail the physical worship. It's only a mental worship.
So this
So these are slight.
chanting name, in Manas Puja there are rituals. So for every ritual,
In
if this
chanting
japa is,
name,
means it is combined, will that help? That chanting the name of the Lord and Manas Puja.
if the name of the Lord, you need to know the meaning also. Then the chanting of the name will have some bearing, because the mind has to, merely chanting the name, mind should have a form. We have seen the name and form relationship, which is inseparable in case of mind. Mind cannot utter the word pen without bringing that image of the pen. Or when the image of the pen comes to your mind, then the word pen also appears. So this name and form association is something unbreakable for the mind. Mind cannot understand anything which has no form or no name. So name and form association goes together. If you are chanting name, then it is necessary that you know the significance of the word and its meaning. That is important. That is necessary. Then the naming, the chanting the names of the Lord also will be useful for concentration. That is why Vishnu Sahasranam, we have the book on Vishnu Sahasranam, and Swamiji has given a beautiful title for that book. It is said there, 1,000 ways to the transcendental. 1,000 names are 1,000 ways. It's not just 1,000 names commenting upon. He is commenting each name as a way to reach the eternal, the ultimate. So this is a great idea. So then that kind of Nama Japa will definitely be useful if it is done mental for building up concentration. So first, we have to make the mind single pointed as an effective tool to handle the Japa Yoga. And then we have to perform Japa Yoga in upgrading or improving our concentration of mind. So these are the two aspects of the tool and its application. Single pointedness of the mind and the concentration of the mind gained as a result by applying the single pointed mind to this sadhana, japa sadhana. So by concentration and single pointedness, which is said here, meditation is natural. Then we need to see the definition of meditation. We have seen it earlier. Meditation is a discipline to think on one line of thinking at the exclusion of all the dissimilar lines of thinking. This ability to meditate upon our deity without allowing any dissimilar line of thinking in between is the ability to meditate. So see the steps up. First is single pointedness of the mind, then concentration of the mind on a given topic, then ability to meditate on the given deity, and lastly, with this meditative disposition of the mind, the contemplative exercise based on the Mahavakyas of the Upanishads. That is the last word. So the Nama Japa can take us even to the ultimate and help us gain the pure knowledge, which is our goal. The goal of every individual is to gain the pure knowledge, which is separate from Brahman. So we have seen Maya and Brahman. The Maya stands for pure knowledge. So there the Aham Brahma, Aham Spuranam comes at that level. So this I has the ultimate goal of reaching the pure knowledge, to become the pure knowledge and remain there. That's all. Our job is over. Then the grace of Brahman will work and will reveal itself. So because there is no conveyance between the pure knowledge and the Brahman. Pure knowledge cannot understand Brahman. Brahman cannot be the object of pure knowledge. This being the case, there is no way to reach Brahman. So the jiva has to remain there as a pure knowledge or a real amness. In other words, pure knowledge is the level where there is a amness in its purity. Asmita. Aham Brahma is Aham Brahmasmi is Asmita, is amness, Asmita. Isness is Astitva, Astita. Here it is Asmita. So the highest level of the goal reached is to reach the pure knowledge, not Brahman. The one who to whom the Brahman is revealed, he becomes Brahman. So becoming Brahman is different than understanding, knowing Brahman and all that. The knower of the Brahman becomes a Brahman in that sense that he becomes the pure knowledge and then the Brahman is revealed to him. So there is no direct conveyance between the knowledge pure and the Brahman absolute. Therefore, our ultimate goal is to reach the knowledge. And the important point for us in this Kali Yuga is the machine age, is that the name is capable of reaching us to the up to the ultimate pure knowledge. And the steps we have just now discussed, first is the single pointedness of the mind, where the equipment is prepared, toned for the exercise. The next is concentration of the mind on a given area. The third is meditation exclusively on a given theme. And lastly, the contemplation upon the essential oneness between the self and Brahman with the help of Mahavakya. Every Mahavakya has these two aspects, the individual Jiva aspect and the Brahman aspect. The Jiva aspect has pure knowledge and Brahman aspect has absolute existence. So this Tat Tvam Asi, Tat Brahma Tvam Jivaha Asi. This is Upadesha Vakya. The teacher tells him when at an appropriate climax, he said, here it is, this you are. When by the exercise of contemplation or reflection, when they come to that point, then the teacher just said, this is what you are at this moment. And you see in Kathopanishads, etc. also the teacher reminds him, etad vaitat, tad etad vai. Whatever I told you in the beginning, it is this. I said, that time I said, I will tell you in the course of discussion. And when it came to that point, he said, this is what I was telling you that I will tell you. Etad vaitat. So some of the mantras will followed by this wording. The teacher is trying to indicate now this kind of last exercise of contemplation to be done by the single individual is to gain the essential knowledge first, pure knowledge, and then our ability to become one with Brahman. So only with the help of Mahavakya it is possible that the Jiva becomes Brahman. But for before that, he must be ready with his true nature as pure knowledge. So this being the case, the Japa Yoga itself can take us to the ultimate goal. That is how we can take Manasa Puja as a great exercise between the Nama Japa and the meditation. In between, this will help us concentrate our mind on a given topic. So the puja is a area or the topic on which the mind has to concentrate. When the mind is without sense organs and body, it needs a lot of concentration. Ordinarily, when we are physically working, like actual doing puja, our hands are working, we are able to see by our eyes the idol or the photo. Then the agarbatti and all that smell is there for the nose. And this when some of the organs of perception and some of the organs of action are thus busy in performing physically the puja, then the mind is expected to be behind these organs. Mind has to come there, otherwise we will make mistake in our action if the mind is not present. Therefore, this is how we are interested in the mind and we are getting the organ busy so that the mind will come behind to supervise that. This is how we are trying in the beginning, but later on we will find that the mind itself has to develop single pointedness, then the concentration, then the meditation. These are the yoga exercises to start with. And this will prepare the mind for the last contemplative effort, where based on Mahavakyas, the contemplation exercise will continue as guided by the teacher. So that is how we have covered now everything, revision, and we have warmed up also with a little new portion. Manasa Puja is also dealt with. So with a slight discrimination between single pointedness and concentration. And thus now we have covered Nama Japa, Puja and Manasa Puja. Both are, all are complementary exercises, enriching each other. Now I'll just read out the 11th para. There is an art of economizing energy in work. There is for every work its own required stamina to be drawn from our individual personality. This is equally true in all spiritual activities called yogas. One's own subtle judgment upon the work of an artist, as distinct from those of another, is not a detail which is really taught, but it is that which during practice one comes to discover oneself. The same rule applies in the art of yoga also. The artistic practitioner for all for himself, the artistic practitioner, there is some misprint, I think the sentence is not complete properly. The same rule applies in the art of yoga also. The artistic practitioner all for himself. This will come as a result of continuous practice in the right direction. So economizing energy here is not detailed out anywhere. How to economize energy? Because the field of work differs. Accordingly, where the energy should be economized, where it should be spent, all that discrimination will differ from the field of work or kind of sadhana. Therefore, here it is said, like an artist, each type of artist, whether it's a painter, whether it's a sculptor, whether it's a dancer, in each of his own profession or is a pursuit, he has to discover the technique. Therefore, it's not detailed out anywhere what he should do and how he should do it. He should do it sincerely and in the right direction. And in the process, he will pick up some knack where he can economize his energy. For instance, in a portrait also, there are some techniques or tricks where you don't have to exert your skill for that. There are some mechanical operations by which you can also cover some part of the portrait. But there are some areas of the portrait where your skill is important. So likewise, as one practices in the right direction, sincerely, he will come to know the tricks of the trade, in other words. So he will come to know the necessary skills of economizing his energy and utilizing it for the essential work. So whatever is applicable in the arts is also applicable in the spiritual practice or yoga sadhana. This is how it is indicated in the 11th para. So in the end it is said, this will come as a result of continuous practice in the right direction. That was 11th para. Is there anything that is to be further discussed?
I think in this part particularly, some verses of Manasa Puja are very effective. I feel, I don't know by experience, especially the lines like Yadyat Karma Karomi Tattad Akhilam Shambho Tarvaradhanam. These kind of verses which are there, they can be applied not just during Manasa Puja but during the rest of the time as well. So I just
Say
had
as well. What is as well?
it can be contemplated upon the rest of
Yes,
the time as well, not
exactly.
during the
So
Manasa.
only that fourth verse, Atma Tvam Girija, which we have been playing on in our camp. So that is the verse which encourages meditation, encourages contemplation. So Tvam, O Lord Shiva, you are my own self. So this is trying to be one with the Lord. So my own self is indicated by the pronoun first person, that is I am. So there is essential oneness between the Lord and myself. This is called Jiveshwara Aikyam. So this is a thought is given to him for the contemplation or meditation. Not only this, but first three verses are detailing out the Manasa Puja. So one has to practice that. And finally, Acharya has said what should be the outcome of this Manasa Puja. Now the mind is concentrated. Single pointed mind is concentrated. Now when it is concentrated, the fourth verse, Atmatvam Girija, is an application of the concentrated mind in meditation. Imagine that the Jiva and Shiva are not two different things. Jiva has to discover Shivahood in himself. And the fourth verse of Manasa Puja will work on that. And lastly, as a ritual, at the end of every ritual, Ksamapanam is the case where it is begged for forgiveness, whatever there may be some commissions, some omissions in performing the puja, please pardon me, etc. That is the words as a traditional requirement of the puja as a ritual. But in between, Acharya has managed to insert fourth verse, which will encourage for one who has developed single pointedness of the mind and is now very well concentrated, he is with a concentrated mind, he should now apply that mind for meditation. Then there should be a theme for meditation. And the theme is Lord Shiva himself is my own self. Is a start with that. Therefore, whatever I am doing at this moment, before realization of Shiva that I am, before that realization, whatever I am doing, I am actually doing it for Lord Shiva himself. Lord Shiva is in the heart, in my heart. At this moment, I have not realized that I am Lord Shiva, Shivoham. But in order to realize that, what I have to do? So Acharya tells him, what is that? Girija Matihi. My intellect is Parvati or Girija. Sahacharaha Pranaha. My five pranas are your attendants. And Shariram Gruham. My body is your house. Now, when we develop this concept, then definitely, physically, I'm conscious that the Lord is dwelling in me. My body is a house, a temple, and the Lord is within me. Therefore, Pujate Vishayopabhoga Rachana. Whatever I'm adjusting, arranging, planning for the sense enjoyment, it is not for myself. I'm organizing it for the Lord so that the Lord will be pleased. So when I'm eating, I'm not eating. I'm offering this to the Lord inside. And naturally the testing follows. Testing is preceded. So the tongue, you will get the taste. But then it is not for relishing, it is for offering, like Sabari tested the fruits before offering. Similarly, we are only testing it that it goes well. All food is clean, hygienic, and holy with the name of the Lord, and that is being offered to the Lord Shiva. So this attitude will be formed before the knowledge. Attitude, a right attitude is responsible for the knowledge. And if the knowledge is right, then the attitude also changes to that right. So this being the relationship at present, my day-to-day activities are toned to that attitude which will end in the knowledge that I am the Lord Shiva in essence. So therefore the fourth verse is most important verse. The first three verses help us with a single pointed mind, develop concentration in imagining the entire puja ritual. All the 16 upacharas are being listed there. What are the things that the worshipper has gathered for the Lord? And with this concentration and the silence that follows after the puja, he is asked to meditate upon this. And thereby, the attitude is toned properly, and this will lead to the actual realization of this knowledge that I am the Lord. So here she discussed this in the earlier portions of this unfoldment also, that man is potentially God. This is the statement, Swamiji's statement. Each soul is potentially divine. Is a statement given by Swami Vivekananda when he was talking about essentials of true religion. He says each soul is potentially divine. That means each soul has the divinity in himself, the Lord. Now he has to manifest that divinity. Now it is potential. How I can manifest the divinity within me in my life? So then there are ways to develop that, manifest that, and that is the whole of religion. Then all other things like the temple, books and dogmas, this and that, they are all secondary details. This is the essence of religion. So the goal is to manifest this divinity within. Every human being is been given this goal, basically. So that way we can, Manasa Puja will help us concentrate and meditate. Right now, anything else with reference to so art of yoga? Meditation is the art of yoga. Here, Swamiji has used as the word. The same rule applies in the art of yoga also. Earlier, he has made a statement for your information, comparative studies. He has defined a yoga. The control of mind is not an art, it is a knack. K-N-A-C-K, knack. A knack is neither the science nor the art, but it's a technique with which you handle the mind. So mental control is a knack. But practicing this yoga sadhana and developing the economizing of the energy is art in itself, where you will discover the important technique how to economize your energy. There is no details how to economize the energy given by anybody else. So each one has to, like an artist, each one has to develop in his practice of yoga this particularly the art of economizing his energy, so that with the present energy itself we can manage, and the inspiration that will come to us will bring forth additional source of energy that will flood our within. But before that, to make this happen, we need to economize our present available energy in all these yoga sadhana. Anything else in this? We go to the 12th para. A japist attempt is always to maintain his mind in one fixed line of divine thinking. To one who has gained a sufficient poise in this subjective art of a single pointedness, knack gathered through the practice of contemplation, to him meditation is natural. This is a complicated sentence. properly, it has to, the clauses are to be understood properly. So there is a graded exercise. The first exercise is of single pointedness. Just now we have discussed. Then the next exercise is of concentration, which will bring poise to the mind. Poise is a balance without shaking. Poise, balance. And lastly, the meditation becomes natural. Then the whole exercise will lead us to our ability to contemplate. So please, you work out on your own, and if you have any other ideas, you please share. It's a subjective art of single pointedness. How to make your mind single pointedness? You are improving your tool. So, like if I have to write with a pencil, I need to sharpen the tip every now and then, so that I can write with sharp letters. Likewise, the mind has also to be toned to single pointedness when I am applying it in yoga sadhana, whether it is japa, whether it is mental worship, or anything else in the yoga sadhana, meditation. So, this is the first aspect, single pointedness, toning the mind to the required use, and then applying the single pointed mind to a given concentrated area. Only on that. It's not going out beyond the boundaries. So that will develop concentration of mind. Chitta ekagra is the term used. Chitta chi ekagrata. And the earlier level, the mind itself becomes chitta later with concentration. But earlier, it needs to be single pointed. Ordinarily, the mind is extrovert. When it is extrovert, it has many pointedness, meaning it has 101 topics for its thinking, for its feeling, for its resolves. And all these many mouthed or many points, many pointed mind has to be turned inward. Instead of extrovert, make it introvert. Not all the 24 hours, not advised, but whenever you are at the seat of your sadhana, spiritual practice, there you withdraw your mind from all the external matter of interest and make it introvert, gathered. And then this gathered mind is what is called as single pointed mind. Earlier, the mind is spread and divided into so many topics of interest in the outer world. So, this many varied interests in the outer world has been reduced to a single minimal interest, and this ability to make the mind introvert and gathered can be rounded up in a single word of single pointedness. Then this mind is ready for application. A single pointed mind is applied in what? In the japa sadhana, so that it develops a concentration. So that is the next. With this concentration of the mind, single pointed mind, it is the meditation is natural, says Swamiji. So that is because meditation is this, what? To meditate on a single line of thinking at the exclusion of all the dissimilar lines of thinking. This is meditation. When I'm meditating on a given point, then I should exclude all other dissimilar points, and my mind must be able to meditate on that. For the mind, meditation will become natural provided mind is single pointed and has practiced sufficiently the concentration. So this is this you can say some of the tips that Swamiji has given here up to this para. Do you have anything to say on this? We have covered the 12th para with a proper sequence, a proper gradation of our spiritual practice. The first to start with is single pointedness of the mind. Next is concentration of the mind. Last is meditation by the mind. Meditation by the single pointed concentrated mind. This is all yoga sadhana, and this prepares the seeker for the contemplative exercise advised by Vedanta or Upanishads through their Mahavakyas. Mahavakyas are representative. There are only 4, each taken from one Veda and Upanishad. There are only 4, but otherwise, all Upanishads have many Mahavakyas like that, where the construction of that Mahavakya is something similar to 2 aspects in the Mahavakya. I don't know, there is some change in my voice. So these 2 aspects are the individual aspect and the total aspect. One level, and the second level is I, the self, and that, the Brahman. Essential oneness. So the Mahavakya should indicate the essential oneness between Jiva and Ishvara to start with. And when that is accomplished, then Jiva and Brahman, or Atman and Brahman. So Brahmatmaikya Jnanam is the goal for contemplating upon Mahavakya. So we have in Rigveda, what is that? Pradnyanam Anandam Brahma is the Mahavakya in Aitareya Upanishad Rigveda. Consciousness is Brahman. This Mahavakya says consciousness is Brahman. Therefore, it follows that the individual has to raise himself, the value of I, to be equal to pure consciousness, witness consciousness. The Mahavakya says that this pure witness consciousness is Brahman. Pradnyanam Anandam Brahma. Then in the Samaveda, there is a Upadesha Vakya where the teacher says Tattvamasi. Tat stands for Brahman. That Brahman you are. You, the Atman, is nothing other than Brahman. So this is again the essential oneness between the 2. The third is the Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, the third one, Yajurveda. Aham Brahmasmi is there in the, so which says that it is having a objective definition of Brahman, the subject, as consciousness is Brahman. This is an objective definition. Then the teacher's advice, Tattvamasi. Put this together, the student tries to reflect on that, goes away into the place of solitude, and there he contemplates upon this Vakya, Tattvamasi. Tattvamasyadi Laksham, the Sadguru is indicated by Mahavakya. Tattvamasyadi Laksham. So Tattvamasi is the Upadesha Vakya by the teacher, and plus the objective definition of Brahman as consciousness. With these 2 as a capital, he goes away into the solitude, bring out those ideas, and tries to contemplate upon these 2 aspects and their essential oneness. And this leads to the realization, oh, I am that Brahman. So this is a subjective realization of the objective definition and the Upadesha Vakya by the teacher. This is the result of that. Aham Brahmasmi. When this as an experience for a few moments, Aham Brahmasmi. Later on, whatever he has experienced in the early morning at the seat of meditation, he reminds himself throughout the day, I am Atma Brahma. Oh, this Atman is Brahman. The Atman that I am is Brahman. So I am Atma Brahman is I think Atharva Veda. So these are only representative for Mahavakyas, and there are many. Each Upanishad contains many Mahavakyas, if you look in from this point of view. But four are representative given here. In fact, even in Gita also, we will find at the end of the chapter, any given chapter, there is an epilogue which says, it is Srimad Bhagavad Geeta Su Upanishad Su. So Bhagavad Geeta Su is a plural. Bhagavad Geeta Yam is a singular. In this Bhagavad Gita. No, Bhagavad Geeta Su, it is a plural. And Upanishad Su, plural. So it is indicative that this chapter, every word is like an Upanishad. Every word is like a Gita. Whole Grantha, whole book is of Gita is as though summarized in every verse. Therefore, it's one verse is a starting point for contemplation, and likewise, any verse one takes up for contemplation should lead to the realization of my true nature as pure witness consciousness, Utastha Sakshi Atma. Up to this, the Gita will help, and Upanishad will help us our essential in realizing our essential oneness with the absolute truth. So this reality, that is my nature, and the ultimate truth are essentially one. This is attained by contemplating upon the contents of Mahavakya. Therefore, that is the exclusive part of sadhana, which is Vedanta sadhana. Nididhyasanam is another name for that, for this contemplative exercise. Nididhyasanam, Nidhi means Nija, Nija means one soul. Dhyasa, I am ardently seeking my own self. I thought I am the body, but that is proved to be false. I thought I am the mind, but that also did not work. And the intellect, no. But when I transcend the intellect, then I am in the vast plane of consciousness. And when one lands in that plane of consciousness, there is the first level of realization that I am the Kutastha, meaning changeless, Sakshi, witness, Atma, the self. And this self is one with, is not different from Brahman, the ultimate truth or the absolute existence. So the infinite consciousness as my true nature is not different from the eternal existence everywhere. So this kind of essential oneness is the last word in the spirituality according to Vedanta. And one who has this essential understanding of essential oneness of oneself with Brahman is the one who is liberated. Not till then. Only the Mahavakya, realization from the Mahavakya will help him liberate from this. So real mukti is only when that. But Acharya has introduced in his Vedanta philosophy Jivan Mukti aspect also. Not that till you become Brahman, you are no more, you are not liberated. You are, while alive, you are liberated. If you have realized this, your true nature as your witness consciousness, you are as good as liberated. The last journey will be taken care of by itself. You don't have to do anything for that. So this is Jivan Mukti. And then the ultimate Mukti is only when you are able to transcend the Upadis. Whether Upadis die of their own accord or you transcend them, either way, when the intellect is transcended, the ultimate truth is realized as not different from me. So this is the last. And Nama Japa can take you to that level. Okay. So now we go to the 13th para. Japa is thus a very healthy and effective aid to meditation if properly practiced and regularly pursued. Only one single sentence, one para. But it is most valued and everybody is very, very important. Japa is thus very healthy and effective aid to meditate. When it's a very healthy means if we take care of this spiritual health, we are termed as Swasthya in our group. This is the true health. One who has acquired this true health, he has acquired complete health, total health. When only with this, it is indicated here. And effective aid to meditation. Japa by itself is effective aid to meditation, and it is a very, very, we can say it does a very healthy and effective aid to meditate. So this it becomes helpful to meditation, but in itself is giving us the health. If mind is healthy, everything is healthy. If a mind finds itself weak, then the mind allows all the microbes outside to enter inside. Till then, the microbes dare not enter your body politic so long as the mind is strong. When the mind gives up, then the microbe can dare enter our body politic, and then we are attacked by the different diseases. Diseases itself is not at ease. Dis-ease, that's the spelling. We are just split up for understanding. When the mind is not at ease, then it paves way for different diseases to enter through microbes. So this is the idea here of health. We are trying to seek the total health in our group through these different exercises. So now that is it. That was the 13th para. Only condition is properly practiced and regularly pursued. That's the checkpoint. 14. This is the last para. Regularity and sincerity are the secrets of success in spirituality. This is Mahavakya by Swamiji. Elsewhere, he adds consistency also. Regularity was sincerity of purpose, then regularity, and then consistency. To do it regularly and to do it continuously, both are different shades of meaning. Consistency is next to that, but regularity, we can imply or include the consistency also. Sincerity first. Sincerity of purpose. We must be sincere or true to the purpose for which we are in this spiritual practice. So sincerity of purpose and regularity in our practice is the secret of success in spirituality. This is an important statement. Guard the mind against all excesses and make it immune to selfishness and passion. This is a very ideal piece of advice for the youngsters, and we should try to repeatedly read it so that the deeper meanings also will be revealed to us. Guard the mind against all excesses. So we must put rationing, thus far, no farther, in everything. How long to watch the TV, how long to read the book, how long to work, or all activities we can say, there should be a limit, thus far and no further. So that is one thing. The guard the mind against all excesses and make it immune to selfishness and passion. Now, selfishness and passion, immunity is required to be developed for this, because sacrifice is a universal feeling. And the men have developed individual feeling of selfishness and passion. We will see, all as Subhashitas also revealed to us, that Pibanti nadya swayameva nambha phalam na khadanti phalani swayam na khadanti phalani vrukshaha. Everywhere in nature, we find that the things that are available, the creatures that are available are meant for service to others. They are not meant for themselves. If we observe this, Swamiji calls it as a universal law of sacrifice. In a recent quote, as Moini is giving regularly, Swamiji has said this is a universal feeling of sacrifice and service. So therefore, we are meant for that. And now the practical advice here is the guard the mind against all excesses and make it immune to selfishness and passion. So our normal current of thinking should be how best I could be useful to my surroundings, whatever may be the situation, identifying the situation properly, identifying the related role properly, what are the duties and responsibilities implied in that role, and trying to be true to that. Thereby we are becoming useful to others. So this thought should be a regular current in our day-to-day life. So therefore that is immunity to the selfishness and passion. Watch how imperceptibly the mind ties itself down with things and beings, happenings and circumstances by its own unintelligent attachment. This is Gita's refrain. Asakta, asakta, or sakta. These terms are frequently coming in Gita. The world is not sorrowful, as people say. Samsara as such is not sorrowful. It is the attachment, our attachment with the things of being, that makes us sorrowful. Otherwise, the world is beautiful. But when we develop attachment for a particular thing or a being, then it becomes a cause for sorrow. So this is also a very important piece of advice. Even when all these warnings are faithfully obeyed, there is still a subtle danger of japa activity being muddled with our incorrigible thirst for fruits. So this is the difference between sakama japa and nishkama japa. So here, as a spiritual practice, we should not have any fruit motive. You just practice whatever is said here without any idea about the fruit. You take care of your practice, the fruits will take care of themselves. So not to bother about so the fruit motive is discouraged. And japa polluted by his profit motive cannot end in spiritual effulgence of the one doing it. This is the crest and climax of the advice. Spiritual effulgence of one doing it. One who is doing this japa has a spiritual effulgence within, and to reveal that, to manifest that, is the main job of spiritual practice. And therefore here it is said, if you do the japa with profit motive, then it cannot end in spiritual effulgence of the one doing it. So our all spiritual practices are to make the potential divinity as manifest. Most important, like if you are having a profit motive for japa, for any given profit motive, for my success in the career, for my children's success, for the promotion in the job, with all this also there are mantras available in the scriptures to win over the enemy. A king is given the japa mantra. So they are all profit motivated. That will not work for spiritual purpose. That may work for the Vyavaharika purpose. And here it should be without profit motive. So with this, we are completing this topic here. Let's go through this most important topic in a sense. It lists down the weak points or pitfalls where we tend to fall in the pit. Each individual pit is identified. We have seen some 10 to 12 pits and the related remedy to come out of it. Thus, this is a starting point for meditation, and therefore we have to equip ourselves with our mind single pointed and concentrated. So then the Japa Yoga sadhana is fulfilled. Then the further ascents are already discussed, like meditation and contemplation. And then lastly, as it is said, to bring out that effulgence in one's own being. That is the main purpose of spiritual sadhana. We are self-effulgent beings. We are existent, self-effulgent, conscious, intelligent being. Now we have to reach first as an intelligent being and then transcend the intelligence and become the effulgence. That is the best turning point of the end, and with this the topic is concluded. We'll read the mission pledge and Shanti part. We stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. We serve as an army, courageous and disciplined, ever ready to fight against all low tendencies and false values within and without us. We live honestly the noble life of sacrifice and service, producing more than what we consume and giving more than what we take. We seek the Lord's grace to keep us on the path of virtue, courage, and wisdom. May thy grace and blessing flow through us to the world around us. We believe that the service of our country is the service of the Lord of Lords, and devotion to the people is the devotion to the Supreme Self. We know our responsibilities. Give us the ability and courage to fulfill them. Om Tat Sat. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah. Sarve Santu Niramaya. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya. Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityurmamritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Om